wait. You better bite your tongue. You don't know jack, boy. You're young, dumb, and full of cum. Better step in line.
Hi, my name is Jake Smith. I'm the White Buffalo, and you're watching Under the Gun TV.
So you've been on the road playing a bunch of gigs with Chuck Reagan throughout April. How have the shows been so far? How has it been playing alongside Chuck?
It's been great. I think the kind of the fan bases are crossing over nicely, and I think yeah, I mean I like what he does. He writes honest songs. He performs them with passion and similar styles to us, you know.
So let's talk about your newest album, Shadows, Grays, and Evil Ways. From what I read about it, you said that it wasn't exactly intended to be a concept album at first, but it kind of ended up unfolding that way. Is this something that you've ever done before, or was this kind of a new creative undertaking?
I mean, that was the whole thing. I'd always wanted to write a narrative, a longer story, within an album. I always kind of look at my songs as like mini movies almost, and a lot of them either take you on some kind of fantastic journey, and others are emotional kind of songs or whatever. But I'd always wanted to link them together and write a longer story. And this one, I wrote a bunch of songs initially. Or bones of songs, just the kind of the pieces of songs where I'd have a verse and a chorus or an idea kind of, you know. And I saw that if I arranged kind of all these songs in a certain pattern or a certain way that I could achieve the narrative now, you know, or for the last album.
One theme that I kind of noticed was pretty prevalent is kind of like notion of dichotomy in the songs and in the lyrics and in the themes, you know, God and patriotism and all these other heavy issues. Is there?
Yeah, I mean, I love to play with kind of the ideas of good and evil and the ideas of, you know, people doing bad things for the right reasons or the wrong reasons for that matter. Or, yeah, I mean, I like to play with, I don't know, that will evoke some kind of emotion or
Not
that
so
make people feel something. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I just like to ask some of the questions and leave them, leave the listener kind of decide what happens or what to think. I'm not really a preacher. I'm just a songwriter.
Well, I mean, there's a part in the record where you're kind of, you know, thinking about God's existence and stuff like that, and then at the end you're still kind of, the character wants to redeem himself a little bit towards the end of his life. So
yeah, I mean, even at the end of the character's life, he's still asking the question, one, if there is a God, you know, and then two, if there is, does he have any right to be there? Even though he's done some horrible shit. Some people think they know, but I don't think that there's no, you know, hard evidence that God does exist or doesn't exist. And I think that's a lifetime philosophical question or a spiritual question for anybody. I don't know. I mean, I'm you know, I was raised pretty atheist, you know. But at the same time, things happen that I can't explain, and you know, I don't know what's what. I'm certainly not gonna rule out the idea, but at the same time, it's hard to believe in some of the follow organized religion at the same time, you know.
When you're writing your music, was it a conscious thing to try to tackle like bigger questions of life like that, but still making it a cohesive, understandable storyline progressing through?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't know. I don't think I often consciously start writing things to paint these, you know, have these huge life questions in the songs.
It's just part of the character's development kind of thing.
Yeah, I think. I don't know, you know, I never have an agenda of what I'm going to write. Things just kind of come out, and then as they do, I kind of just tighten up songs and figure out where it's going to take these characters. And along the way, I mean, it's it's human nature to think about those bigger questions. And I think this is, you know, essentially covering a lifespan of the main character, Joey White, and you know, and those questions are in there.
I just watched a video for Joey White, which I absolutely loved. Why did you decide to go with an animated video for such a heavy thing?
You know, initially I wanted it to was to do an animated video, to do something different. I'd already done a bunch of videos that, which I'm really proud of, but just wanted to try something different. And I just brought it up to management or whatever and said, hey, you know, what about an animated video? You know, it's very literal which was kind of my idea. Which at first I was kind of like, maybe it could have been not so true to the song, but at the same time, the song's pretty in your face, and the video is as well, you know.
I think it's cool. It's like ironic because you have like these friendly-ish looking cartoon characters, and then by the end there's people dying and stuff in war.
Right. But that's kind of the story of the song. Is that, it's essentially his whole time between enlisting to war and him getting shot and sent home, all in about 2.5 minutes. So it has this kind of heated pace that it goes in, and he goes in and thinking it's a choice, a good choice.
Yeah.
And it comes out and maybe not thinking the same thing.
Some of the lines that I love in that song, you say how Joey is young, dumb, and full of cum, but then he doesn't really know that Uncle Sam is just a cartoon. Is that kind of a political message about how some guys might be younger and naive going off to fight this big battle, but they don't really understand what it's about?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That was the first line I wrote on that song.
Yeah.
Or as far as the he don't know that Uncle Sam is a cartoon and not a man. It's just kind of about young guy, patriotism and the naivete of a lot of kids probably joining the military. Think it's going to be this, fight for freedom, fight for patriotism, and fight for this idea of this grander thing. And then guys get out there and they realize pretty quickly that the agenda is very different, and they have very little idea of why they're there, and then there's a lot of disillusionment that I think goes along with that.
Yeah.
Which same with the character that happens, and so I think that's a pretty real thing that a lot of soldiers are dealing with. I get guys coming up to me after every show saying, how kind of spot on I was about it, and how emotional it makes them, and how just. They're surprised because I've never been in the military, and I don't have anybody very close to me that's in the military other than fans I talk to or people I talk to. But, how I could channel that kind of idea or the feelings but I guess it's...
So completely different from the Joey White video, the Don't You Want It video. That thing came out so cool. Was that real vintage footage, and then you mixed in new stuff you recorded? Tell me about that video.
Yeah, it was the guy who's done almost all our videos. This guy Pete McComber, and it was his idea, kind of. Because we were talking about getting people to like line dance to it or clog or do something, and he just found this footage. There was some guy out of San Francisco that filmed it a long time ago, I think.
Okay.
I don't know the whole story behind it, but yeah, it's some old footage. Brought with me, and my good friend Tony was the announcer, and we kind of just makeshift this kind of old-timey looking studio, and just cut them together, and I thought it'd come out. It's pretty lighthearted. But that song is kind of one of the more lighter moments in the thing. He's kind of he is reflecting on what happened to him, why did who failed him, almost to the point where. Why he turned out as he did, reflecting on his life, reflecting on his childhood, thinking about things. But then at the same time, there's the idea of hope, the idea of becoming new again, and the idea that you can, that kind of the power of love, that you can renew yourself.
So aside from the theme of war, there's also this love theme going on in there. Is that something you tried to intertwine multiple storylines within
yeah, for me that's the main message, is kind of this. It's kind of like, my wife means everything to me, and she's the reason that I do what I do now. If it wasn't for her, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably still be falling off stages and drinking a lot, or drinking more, and she just got me focused and helps me stay focused. That's a big theme, and the idea of love and family is, I think, what is the only thing a lot of people know, is often this kind of small circle of people. That's what's really important, is that.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, and in the end, it's all that's love. That's really all you have. It's like, and Joey finally realizes that kind of at some point where, in the song Redemption #2, it's his, you know, he's going through all this stuff and thinking about all this bad things that he's done. But in the end, he realizes that it's his, you know, what he needs to put his heart and his mind into is his wife, Jolene, and she's the answer.
So in the end, it is considered a happy ending in your eyes?
I think so. Yeah, it's a love story. I mean, there's still questions unanswered at the end, but I mean, I'm sure there's people die every day probably with questions unanswered.
So you like leaving that little bit of interpretation for someone who's listening to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what's interesting about you is you've got this really deep voice and you have a big grizzly beard and you seem like such a tough guy, but you've also got this very gentle, emotional side to your songwriting.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit, you know, for people who don't know you, about yourself or your musical history. I mean, I know it's a hard thing to sum up quickly, but I know you've been at this for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 11 years, maybe 12 years, and for the most part, been independent, you know, and even today, still, you know, drive the van or the car, and you know, we're a very do-it-yourself kind of band, and I am as well. I don't know. I mean, it's been a long journey. It's been, you know, I think doing things yourself and not having any bullshit or any kind of machine behind you, essentially.
Yeah.
That we've been able to build something that's special and that's people can
yourself.
really attach to, because there's nothing. It's only this guy telling that guy that.
There's no puppet master.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you know, there's no Pepsi commercial. It's just it's just a guy.
Yeah.
You know, I just try to write good songs that touch people and get some kind of emotional response, or taking them on some kind of roller coaster or some kind of ride. You know, whether it be a dark murder journey or some kind of evil story, or a love story, or something that's more touching. And I think there's those sides of life that a lot of songwriters or a lot of artists, not judging anybody, but that don't go on both sides. That don't kind of dive into the shadows, but then also are available to have the light and the love.
Yeah. I know your music has been used in a bunch of TV shows and movies and stuff like that. What does that feel like, seeing your stuff translated to the big screen? And do you think it's because you kind of have this narrative storytelling kind of aspect to your music?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm lucky. The Sons of Anarchy.
That's cool.
Has used a bunch of my songs in it, and they're kind of unique in the fact that they actually help or use the song to help tell the story.
Yeah.
Where it's part of the show. It's not a background. You know, I mean, sure, you know, they do play some stuff that's kind of light in the background, but some of the stuff is montages. That's the whole song at full volume.
Contributes to the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, and help telling the story of the show. You know, it definitely helps spread the word and gets people out to shows that we wouldn't have, and helps people discover my music more than, you know, almost anything else. So it's great.
Anything else fans need to look out for you in the future? Anything else coming up, or just on the road?
No, I'm always riding. We're on the road here. We're going to finish up this Chuck Reagan, Johnny Two Bags tour in a couple weeks, and probably start recording at the end of the year. Probably put out another album. Hi, I'm Jake Smith, the White Buffalo, and thanks for watching Under the Gun TV.
Now his heart's filled up with lead, and he got demons in his head, full like